Rain lashed against the spaceship window. I peered through the blurry glass. Earth, a swirling blue and green marble against the backdrop of a million stars. My heart hammered against my ribs. Fear, excitement, both, perhaps. Landing was rough. The ship shuddered and groaned, protesting the unfamiliar pull of gravity. I took a deep breath, straightened my uniform, a perfect replica of a human schoolteacher's attire, and stepped out into the pouring rain. The air was thick, heavy with the scent of wet earth and something else, life. So different from the sterile metallic tang of my home planet. A shiver ran down my spine. This was it. The start of my mission. The start of my new life. My instructions were clear. Infiltrate, observe, report. I was to blend in, become one of them, learn their secrets. But first I had to become someone else. Someone human. Someone ordinary. A school teacher. Northwood Academy. A place that seemed ordinary at first glance. A typical British school, I was told, but I knew better. Brick facade, echoing corridors, the smell of stale sweat and teenage angst. It was all so familiar, yet so foreign. I walked through the halls, my senses on high alert, taking in every detail. The students were fascinating. Each one a story, waiting to be told. So much raw emotion, so much energy. It was almost overwhelming. Their laughter was loud, their anger explosive, their sadness heartbreaking. Every emotion was magnified in this microcosm of life. They moved with a freedom I envied. Their lives a tapestry of choices I could only observe. Choices that seemed so simple, yet so profound. My classroom was on the second floor, a vantage point that offered a unique perspective. A large, airy space with windows overlooking the schoolyard. It was a place where I could watch and learn. Rows of desks, a blackboard, the faint scent of chalk dust. It was all so meticulously arranged. It felt strangely familiar, comforting even, like stepping into a well-worn pair of shoes, like a stage set for the role I was about to play. Every detail was in place. Taking a deep breath, I began to unpack my things. Books, pens, lesson plans, each item carefully chosen, all carefully crafted to appear human, to blend in seamlessly, all part of the disguise. A disguise that had to be perfect. But as I looked around the empty classroom, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was the one being observed, studied, analysed. The observer had become the observed. His name was Daniel, a quiet boy, often lost in thought, always on the periphery of the classroom's hustle and bustle. He had a mop of unruly brown hair and eyes like emeralds, so vivid they seemed to hold secrets. There was a depth to them, an intelligence that drew me in, making me wonder what thoughts swirled behind those eyes. He became my point of focus, my window into the human world, a mystery I felt compelled to unravel. In class he sat by the window, his gaze often drifting towards the clouds as if searching for answers in the sky. He rarely participated in discussions, yet I could sense a keen mind at work beneath the surface, absorbing everything. He was different from the other students. Quieter, more observant, always taking in his surroundings with a silent curiosity. And I found myself drawn to him, intrigued by his quiet demeanour and the mystery he embodied. Our interactions were brief, limited to the confines of the classroom, yet each one left a lasting impression. A question about an assignment, a fleeting smile when he grasped a difficult concept. These moments were small but significant. But in those small moments I felt a connection. A spark. Something I couldn't explain, a bond that seemed to transcend words. And so I began to watch him more closely, not just during lessons, but outside of class as well, trying to piece together the puzzle that was Daniel. In the library, lost in a book, his face a mask of concentration. In the courtyard, sketching in a notebook, his hands moving with a quiet grace. Each glimpse fueled my fascination, my desire to understand him, to see the world through his eyes, to understand what lay beneath those emerald eyes, the mysteries they held, and the stories they could tell. My initial curiosity about Daniel quickly grew into something more profound. His every move, every word, every fleeting expression became an object of fascination. I found myself rearranging my schedule, creating excuses just to be near him. His notebooks became my obsession. Filled with his neat handwriting, intricate drawings and philosophical musings, they were a window into his soul. I would spend hours poring over them, trying to decipher his thoughts, to unravel the mystery that was Daniel. My work began to suffer. Reports were filed late, my observations lacking their usual detail. My superiors back home sent inquiries, their tone laced with concern, but I couldn't bring myself to care. Daniel consumed my thoughts, eclipsing everything else. Shame washed over me, a foreign sensation. My mission, my purpose, it all paled in comparison to the burning need to know everything about him. I was losing myself in him, crossing boundaries I never thought I would cross. Section 5, Forbidden Knowledge. My fascination with Daniel was forbidden. He was my subject, my observation. I was the scientist, he the specimen. But the lines were blurring, the boundaries of my mission disintegrating like stardust. I craved his touch, his laughter, his tears. I wanted to know his hopes, his dreams, his fears. I wanted to reach out and soothe his furrowed brow when he was lost in thought, to share in his joy when his eyes lit up with understanding. These were human emotions, alien to my kind. Love, longing, jealousy. They were chaotic, messy, and utterly intoxicating. And I, the detached observer, was drowning in them. My true form, my reptilian skin, my cold blood, it all felt like a distant memory. I was shedding my alien self, becoming something new, something dangerous. And the transformation terrified me. The more I learned about Daniel, the wider the chasm between us seemed to grow. He was human, with all the complexities and contradictions that entailed. I was an outsider, an imposter, peering into his world from the other side of the glass. His laughter grated on my nerves. His sadness felt like a physical pain. His very existence was a constant reminder of what I could never have. My obsession was morphing into something darker, something possessive. My reports became erratic, filled with half-truths and outright lies. I couldn't bear the thought of my superiors discovering my secret, of them taking me away from him, but I couldn't keep up the charade forever. The walls were closing in, my carefully constructed facade crumbling around me. I was caught in a web of my own making, and there seemed to be no escape. One rainy afternoon I found Daniel in the library, hunched over a book, his brow furrowed in concentration. He looked up, his emerald eyes meeting mine. In that instant I saw a flicker of recognition, a knowing glint that sent a shiver down my spine. He knew. Somehow he knew I wasn't who I claimed to be. Panic surged through me, a tidal wave of fear and despair. My carefully crafted world was about to come crashing down. I had a choice to make. Erase his memories, sever the connection and disappear into the night. Or stay, face the consequences of my actions and risk everything for a love that could never be. The logical part of me, the part that still clung to my mission, screamed at me to run. But my heart, now so deeply entwined with Daniel's, yearned for something more. That night I went to Daniel. The rain had stopped, and the stars twinkled coldly above us. He was waiting for me, sitting on a bench in the schoolyard, a small, knowing smile playing on his lips. "I know what you are," he said, his voice barely a whisper. I froze. There was no fear in his eyes, only a quiet understanding. It was as if he had been expecting me all along. And then I told him everything. My mission, my obsession, my love. The words tumbled out, a torrent of emotion and truth. I laid myself bare before him, my alien heart beating wildly against my ribs. He listened patiently, his emerald eyes never leaving mine. And when I was finished, he simply nodded, as if everything I had said made perfect sense. Daniel reached out and took my hand. His grip was firm yet gentle, a silent plea for me to stay. His touch sent a jolt through me, a strange mix of warmth and electricity. It was as if our souls were communicating in a language beyond words. In that moment, I knew I couldn't stay. The weight of our circumstances pressed heavily on my heart. My presence here was a danger to him, to both our worlds. The risks were too great, the consequences too dire. "You have to go," he said, his voice soft but firm. "They'll find you." His eyes were filled with a mixture of fear and determination. I wanted to argue, to beg him to come with me, but deep down I knew it was impossible. But I knew he was right. Our destinies were set on different courses, and no amount of pleading could change that. Our worlds were too different, our lives on different paths. The chasm between us was insurmountable. With a heavy heart, I leaned in and kissed him. It was a kiss filled with all the unspoken words and emotions we could never express. His lips were warm and tasted faintly of salt, the taste of our shared tears, a testament to our sorrow. It was a farewell kiss, a bittersweet ending to a love that was never meant to be, a love that defied the boundaries of our worlds. As I turned to leave, he called out my name. "Thank you," he whispered. His voice was barely audible, yet it echoed in my mind, for showing me that there's more to the universe than we can possibly imagine. His words were a gift, a final connection between us, and with that, I was gone, the distance between us growing with each passing second. Back to the stars, back to my mission, back to the cold, sterile world I came from, a world that now felt even colder without him. But I knew deep in my alien heart that I would never forget him. His memory would be my constant companion. Daniel, the boy with emerald eyes, who had shown me the true meaning of love and loss, his eyes a window to his soul, would haunt my dreams. The memory of him, like a distant star, would forever illuminate the darkness of my journey, a beacon of hope in the vast expanse of space.